And then I decided to breed Lindy. Birds, welcome back to Lindy Lou Productions. Today is going to be a Let's Talk Tuesday, except the only difference is it's going to be a My Writing Story edition. So I'm going to go through kind of my writing story from the very beginning. I did have lots of videos of when I first started riding in lessons and then the first horse that I got, but they are at my parents' house, lost in Timbuktu, and you know, because that was almost 20 years ago, so I have no idea where they are. But I do have a scrapbook with pictures, so I have lots of pictures of you know, my first horse and when I started riding and everything, so I'll kind of go over that with you. And then I did have, I think, 1 or 2 older YouTube channels that I can kind of do like a screen recording of that I had some of my old horses on. So it might be kind of some mismatched stuff here and there, but that's just because it's so old, so that's all I have. But yeah, so let's go back in time. So this is an old scrapbook. This is my graduation picture from high school. How embarrassing is that? And my aunt made this for me for my graduation present. But yes, so this is when I started lessons. I started lessons in 2003. And this was a horse named Brownie. So I rode Western. She was a little Appaloosa and she was so much fun. I adored this horse. She was just an absolute cutie. So I rode for and took lessons for a couple years, and then my dad bought me my first horse, and his name was Sky, and he was a beautiful, absolutely beautiful quarter horse gelding. He was like a dark bay color, and I sold him, I owned him about, I think 7 or 8 years, and then I sold him and bought Lindy. But this was the first little boarding barn that I had him at, and I worked there and took care of the lady's horses in exchange for her letting me keep him there. And then I moved him to this facility and never looked back. I had him here for quite a few years, and I absolutely loved it there. And then my parents bought me this little Appaloosa filly for Christmas. I paid half, and then they paid off the other half and surprised me with her earlier than what I thought I was going to get her. She was a little registered Appaloosa filly. She was a bay with a blanket. And I kept her, you know, obviously at the stables he was at. That was before she was weaned and came to me, and that's Sky. And then this was a horse that I was going to buy. My dad was going to let me buy him. He was a little quarter pony. His name is Forrest Gump. I absolutely adore this horse. There is him and Sky, actually. That's Forrest Gump, and then this is Sky. But then they found a buyer quicker than we could kind of get the money ready, basically. So they kind of sold him out from underneath us, and I was really upset about it. My heart was broken. Here's some more of Sky. I think my aunt did a really good job on this scrapbook. It was kind of cool. But yeah, these were like back in the days where I like really didn't know what I was doing. This was his first show that my friend took me to. Here's a couple more of my little filly, Justice, that I got. She was only, I think, about 8 months old whenever we got her. She was a cutie. I really enjoyed her. She was fun. And then I actually got Sarah right here, which was her half sister, and she was a year older than her. I got her probably about 1.5 years later, I believe. Oh, I forgot I had that picture of their faces smushed together. But this was her and Sky I had them there for quite a while at that boarding barn. She always tried to nurse off of Sky. And then here's Sarah. So I got her. She was actually still a registered Appaloosa, but she just didn't really have any markings or anything. But she was beautiful. I still keep track of her too. I actually just recently found the people that own her. They've had her for quite a while. And I got in touch with them, so I heard a bunch of cool stories about her and everything. So that was really cool. I finally found her. Okay, so this is on my really old YouTube channel that I used to have, and this was after my parents were going to buy a farm, and I was going to take these 3 horses home, and then things just didn't work out, and we couldn't sell their house, so then I had to like hurry up and find a place to put them. So they went to kind of like a great uncle of mine's. He had only ever had cows, so it wasn't the best setup. But yeah, so this was them in their field. They had probably I would say 5-acre field with a pretty decent sized run-in shed. So that's Sky on the right and Sarah on the left. And then we'll go to this video and you can see all 3 of them. Sorry for the quality. I mean, look at this. This was 12 years ago. So YouTube like wasn't even really that up and running yet. But this is the 3 of them, Justice, Sarah, and Sky, running up the hill to get fed. And then I sold Sarah to the people that own this facility in the background on this upcoming video. And then they sold her to the people that I'm in contact now. So at this point, I only had Sky because I had sold I had sold Justice the little blanket app filly too. So I just had Sky at this point at a nice boarding facility. Whoops. I'm sorry for the quality, guys, but I'm just trying to give you kind of an idea of what, So this was Sky, the quarter horse gelding that I had. I had him for 7 or 8 years, like I said. And he was such a good boy. Like, I did pleasure with him. That's what he was bred for, but nobody ever really did anything with him. But I mainly just kind of trail rode him. As you can see there, he has a nice little pleasure jog. But, like I said, nobody ever really put like any kind of thorough training into him. And I think if they would have, he could have done really well. Like, he had the movement. He was a beautiful mover. I definitely think he could have really done something if I would have had the money to put him into training, or if somebody else would have, or whatever. He was a cool horse, or is. He's still alive. He's actually, I think 22 or 23 now. I think he was a 98 baby, so he'd be like 22 now, which is kind of crazy because I got him as a 6-year-old. I really didn't want to sell him, but I couldn't afford my next show horse unless I did. So, but I would buy him back. I would buy him back in a heartbeat. He was just a cool guy. He taught me a lot. Okay, and then this was Sarah and I before I sold her. In that barn, I sold her to the people that rented out this facility. She was built really downhill too, which didn't help things. On this one might be okay. But yeah, so I had Sky, then those fillies. I sold those fillies. I had Sky for probably another 1.5 years just by himself. And then I sold him, and that is when I then bought Lindy. So I had horses for like a good 8 years or so before I bought Lindy. So those are the next videos. Lindy. So these were the videos of what I took of the first day that I went to go see her. This is the lady that I bought her from on her. And this literally makes me sick to my stomach right now to see this because I miss her so much. This horse was my world. That lady had a really cute little setup. She just had Lindy there and a little donkey. So that's Lindy loping down the rail. That's what she did best. She loved to slowly and quietly lope. I loved her lope. It was fun. And then we got a gelding. His name was Vodka, and he was a pleasure gelding. He had kind of sat for a long time, had some slight like hock issues and stuff, but we kind of brought him out of the cobwebs with this same trainer, and we showed him and stuff. I mainly did English equitation with him and like kind of patterns type classes, but he was a big, tall,
Yeah.
bay
Well,
quarter
he
horse gelding, and I
likes to
really enjoyed
please.
him too. He's another one that I probably would buy back, but we did sell him as well. But he had one of the best jogs. Like if you just sat up there, chilled, gave him his head, nice loose floppy rein, I mean, he would just go to town. Like he had the best jog. I actually liked his jog better than Lindy's even. And then I decided to breed. So she had her baby in 2013, so I had sold all of these other horses, just had Lindy, decided to breed her in 2012. She had her filly in 2013. Her name was Phoebe. If you go back way to the beginning of my YouTube channel, there are some videos I have on there. I think Phoebe was about a year old whenever I started my channel. So I don't really have a ton of videos of her actually. I'm going to try to find some after this, but she was bred to a quarter horse stallion. He was also a sorrel. She was really quick and catty and like really trainable, but she just had a personality that I did not mesh with. She was kind of like just a little witch. She kicked a lot and stuff. So I sold her for like $500. But actually there again, I still keep track of her and like know where she's at. And then the lady who owned the stallion, so Phoebe's dad, the little sorrel there, she also bred, she also had an Appaloosa stallion who was related to Phoebe's dad, and so that's where this little Palomino filly came from. So she was half quarter horse, half Appaloosa. So she didn't really have any Appaloosa markings. She was still registered Appaloosa, but she didn't really have any markings. I named her Ruby, but yeah, so I had her for quite a while. So I had a friend come out and do a little professional photo shoot. So that's Lindy on the right and Phoebe on the left. At this point, I had sold Ruby to someone that, you know, took her and did barrel racing and stuff with her actually. So a friend of mine, good friend of mine, has her. So I still know where she is at too. And she has matured and is absolutely gorgeous. Big, stocky Palomino filly, just beautiful horse. So then we moved, I sold, you know, both babies, like I said, just had Lindy. I moved to that other facility I was just talking about. Then I moved to this facility and got a job there. So I boarded Lindy there and leased this horse named Lolita for quite a while, for probably almost a year or so. I leased her, I took a bunch of lessons, did some jumping with her. She was really fun. She was, I think, like a German warm blood or something along those lines. I was there for, like I said, probably a good year and a half. So then after that barn, I kind of moved Lindy back to, because we moved, we were an hour away from that barn. So I kept her there for a little bit until I just kind of got tired of driving. And then my husband lost his job, so we had to find a cheap place. Found a cheap place, and since then, you know, I just kind of had Lindy, hopped around to different barns, you know, whatever I could afford at the time. Rode different people's horses, kind of did like the free leasing type thing like I still do now. So yeah, there's kind of too many horses to mention for that, because I've rode so many different ones, and you guys should really know which ones because they're all on my YouTube channel. That kind of brings us up to present day, which is that I no longer have a horse because Lindy passed away. So I am currently horseless, but I'm still riding a lot for friends. So you guys know, that I'm riding Rusty and Snickers and Harley and, all the horses there at that barn. I have a couple other barns that I can ride at if I want, but I'm just kind of really focusing on my YouTube channels right now and not really riding more than like once a week. But I am going to start taking lessons, so I'm gonna do like a series. I think I mentioned this in my last video. I'm gonna do a series where I ride at different barns. So I'm gonna be doing like Western Pleasure, potentially kind of reining, and different other sorts of Western, like maybe like cow horse stuff. I've never tried that. Some hunter, jumpers, dressage, stuff like that. So I have quite a few lessons lined up for the next couple weeks. My first one is actually tomorrow night, which is Tuesday night. This video will be coming out Tuesday morning. So that video of me at the lesson will hopefully be uploaded on Friday. So that is a Western Pleasure lesson. I've never been to this barn. I've never worked with this trainer. I've heard some really great things, so I'm actually really excited. But yeah, so I feel like I kind of was all over the map with stuff. This is going to be a fairly long video, but hopefully you guys still find it interesting. It is somewhat hard, you know, like I said, since I've been in the game for 20 years now, to remember exactly what happened when, because I don't have pictures and video and footage of everything. It just kind of is stuck in my memory, which is a scary place. So yeah, I'm just kind of trying to go off of a general timeline that I have in my head, which is jumbled mess. So anyway, guys, I hope you still enjoyed. I hope you kind of still got a painted picture of what my horsey riding story and career thus far has looked like. But yeah, definitely click that subscribe button, like and comment on this video. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!